Welcome everybody to the Hannahcast YouTube channel. Before Andor comes out, or technically by the time this review is up live on YouTube, Andor will be out. We're going to be talking about Obi-Wan Kenobi, the mini-series that came out during the summer. And some of you are probably wondering, wait, didn't you already cover this in a podcast? I did, but however, I wanted to put out an actual full review for it because I'm not gonna lie, I need to start doing these a lot more. And so that's why I'm talking about it right now, so I can get my full-on thoughts on it. Now, I will say, before I move on with this review, 85% of the people watching this video right now are not subscribed. So what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell icon, hit that like button. It really helps out the algorithm and it really helps out me as well. So if you could do that, that would be really nice. Now, what is Obi-Wan Kenobi about? Well, Obi-Wan Kenobi is a Disney Plus series that spans 6 episodes, and it takes place 10 years after the events of Revenge of the Sith, after Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader had their fight on Mustafar. Obi-Wan Kenobi has exiled himself on the planet Tatooine, so where he can watch over young Luke Skywalker, but an old friend of Obi-Wan's has called him to action, and you know, that's what Obi-Wan does. Now, I will say I'm going to be getting into some spoiler territory because, you know, to get my big thoughts on this show out in its entirety, I need to talk about spoilers. So if you haven't seen Obi-Wan Kenobi, then it's your chance to get out of this and watch it later when you have seen it. Or, you know, if you have seen it or you just don't really care about spoilers, on with the review. I've been cautiously optimistic of Obi-Wan Kenobi. I like what Deborah Chow has done with The Mandalorian, and I think she directed some episodes of season 1. And, you know, despite the fact that I'm not really a fan of the prequels, despite the fact that a lot of Gen Zers are, I do really like Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like, he was the one consistent thing where I'm like, yeah, that's just straight up spot on. Like, he is, like, by the time you get to Revenge of the Sith, he is straight up Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like, it's uncanny. What made me really cautiously optimistic, like the cautious side of that optimism, where I'm just like, I don't know if this is gonna work, was during the Disney Investor Day, they announced that Hayden Christensen would be coming back as Darth Vader, and they will have the rematch of a lifetime. And that really concerned me. Not from the side of Hayden Christensen. Honestly, I like his performance as Anakin Skywalker wasn't good, but I don't blame Hayden Christensen for that. Like, that's clearly like a writing and directing issue with George Lucas. Like, when Hayden had to say things like, I don't like sand. It's rough, coarse, and irritating, and it gets everywhere. It's like, that's a stupid line. No one's gonna make that work. If Samuel L. Jackson was boring in those movies and had like no personality, then like, clearly Hayden's not the problem. It's the writing and directing. It's George Lucas's fault. And even George Lucas himself has said that he's not really much of an actor's kind of director. He prefers to be on the more technical side of things, you know, working on things like the visual effects and making sure the movie looks good, which, ironically enough, the prequels didn't really look good. What concerned me about the idea of Anakin Skywalker, played by Hayden Christensen, returning, again, isn't Hayden Christensen, it's just the idea of having Darth Vader come back. Because what did Darth Vader say in A New Hope? When I left you, I was but the learner, but now I am the master. Now, some people have tried to come up with some really stupid bullshit excuses like, oh no, but if you look at that quote this way and twist some things around, then it fits in continuity as to why he would meet Obi-Wan before A New Hope. If you have to do that, then it doesn't make sense. You're just trying to force a way for it to make sense. And look, if you don't mind the fact that they're breaking canon, that's fine. I'm not judging you on that. Like, you cannot deny that this absolutely breaks canon. That was my main concern. Now, I've always said, if you want to do flashbacks, you know, where like Obi-Wan has flashbacks where younger Obi-Wan and younger Anakin are talking and whatnot, again, that I completely get that. That would make sense. That would be a great way to have Anakin Skywalker in this series without actually having to break canon. The problem, though, is that the show does break canon. And you know what? I'll get to this here in a bit. Like, episodes 1 and 2, I really liked. I was like, this is actually really good. I even liked young Leia. I thought young Leia was really cool. For the first 2 episodes, I was really liking what they were doing with General Reva. I thought Moses Ingram, even throughout the entire series, I thought Moses Ingram was a great General Reva. I thought her performance was really good, really intimidating. She was just like this kind of, I don't know if, was she a Sith? I don't know if she was a Sith. But obviously she's a dark side force user, or at least we think she is for the first 2 episodes. And she's like a Terminator, hunting down Obi-Wan Kenobi and like getting in people's faces, killing him without any mercy. I was like, this is a really interesting character. I like where this character's going. I'll even defend some of the things in the first 2 episodes. Like, for example, like young Leia, running away from those bad guys in the forest. Again, I don't mind that. It wasn't a bad scene because like, a lot of people don't understand a couple things. One, she was very familiar with that area, whereas the bad guys weren't. Like, so yeah, of course she would know where to go and confuse the bad guys because they've never been there before. And also, I should add, she got captured. It's not like she just got away from them scot-free. No, she still got caught. She was just able to evade them for a few moments. So even that stuff I will defend. And of course, honestly, I think everyone across the board was giving good performances. I especially really love, even, Hayden Christensen as Anakin Skywalker. I think this was finally a chance for him to truly show the kind of acting chops he should have been allowed to give when he was doing Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. Like, whether he is younger Anakin in the flashback sequences in one of the episodes, or if, when he's Darth Vader and his mask is partially removed, like, he's really good in this role. And again, I would like to see other stories with Hayden Christensen as Anakin Skywalker. I don't know how you do that, but I think this was a good showcase of his acting abilities as Anakin Skywalker. Now we get to the problems, and they start immediately with episode 3. This is where the show completely breaks Star Wars canon. Obi-Wan and Darth Vader fight. I have a lot of problems. It starts off really cool. I think it starts off with like Darth Vader trying to hunt down Obi-Wan, and he just like chokes a teenager or something like that, while Obi-Wan's trying to hide from him. Like, that stuff is really cool. And again, I wasn't minding that. I don't mind the idea of him trying to hunt down Obi-Wan, but maybe he can't find him. But no, that's not what happens. He eventually does cross paths with Obi-Wan and he fights him. And I'm sorry, that single-handedly ruins the show. It can't work now. Like, there are other problems with the show, definitely. But the fact that this show chose fan service over story shows that they didn't have a good idea for a story here. They just wanted to see Obi-Wan and Darth Vader fight again. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything to me because it doesn't make any sense. It's just visual noise. And speaking of visuals, that's another problem I have with this series. And it's that, man, the effects in this show are probably the worst I've seen since the prequels. If there's one thing I've always said about Disney Star Wars, it's always been that the visual effects were phenomenal. Even with The Rise of Skywalker, which I did not like, it totally deserved its Best Visual Effects nomination at the Oscars. But with Obi-Wan Kenobi, it's so abundantly clear that they just relied so heavily on that Mandalorian volume tech to where it's like, I could tell when they were shooting on the volume. It was very apparent. And not only that, it made the show feel very small scale. It's some of the same problems I felt with the visual effects of the prequel trilogy, where it's like, in the prequel trilogy, it was all about, oh, we'll fix it in post. without fully realizing that you need to have something kind of grounded in reality, and you can't just save everything for post. Whereas in Obi-Wan Kenobi, it's we'll fix it in pre, because obviously when they're using the volume, it like a lot of the backgrounds are pre-rendered on a game engine, and again, it really feels like that the visual effects artists were rushed by Disney for this. It's like, it doesn't look good. Hell, when Darth Vader is bringing that ship down, or trying to bring that ship down, it looks terrible. It really did feel like that Lucasfilm was using the volume as a crutch. It's like, oh, we don't have enough time to actually, you know, make sets or anything like that, or do any of that. We'll just do it all on the volume, and yeah, it'll work. And it doesn't. The show feels very small scale, and things just do not look right. And now let's get to the General Reva character again, because as I said before, I really liked what she was doing in the first 2 episodes. But apparently it turns out, you know, by the end of the show, this entire time she was trying, like, you know, doing all this to eventually kill Darth Vader, because she was one of the children who were victims of Order 66, or maybe not, I mean, obviously she wasn't killed, but, you know, a lot of her young, you know, Jedi friends, you know, were slaughtered by Anakin. And like, yeah, she's like, yeah, I'm doing all this just to get to Darth Vader and kill him. I'm like, wait, you murdered potentially hundreds of Jedi and were even willing to murder a child just so that you can get back at Darth Vader? Like, no, like, look, yeah, the rebellion in like Rogue One and potentially Andor as well, like, yeah, they have to do some pretty nasty things, but like, no, she is just straight up like murdering innocent people, like, for her cause. And it's like, how am I supposed to get behind this character? And even then, how, like, you know you cannot beat Darth Vader in a fight. The idea that she possibly believes that she could kill Darth Vader is ridiculous. And it's proven that it's ridiculous because Darth Vader wipes her ass clean, like, without even trying. So it's like, what'd you think was gonna happen? Like, you knew this wasn't gonna work out. And so I don't understand why they did that with this character. It's really stupid. It's a really, like, her plan was stupid. There was no reason for her plan to work. There was no reason for her to believe that her plan would work. And she's ultimately doing the exact same horrible things that the person that she's trying to kill did. Oh yeah, I should also mention, she's trying to kill Luke Skywalker for, like, why? I don't know. It's like, again, it just goes with my point. It's like, she's just killing all these Force-sensitive people just to get to Darth Vader. I'm like, it doesn't make any sense. And plus, when she is trying to kill Luke Skywalker, notice that he's in the same room as hers when she whips out a lightsaber, even though in A New Hope, Luke Skywalker had no idea what a lightsaber was. Did you even watch the original Star Wars trilogy to understand the canon of this? Ultimately, I really feel like Obi-Wan Kenobi suffers from the exact same problems that The Rise of Skywalker did, where it's, let's just, you know, throw in fan service for prequelists, even though it doesn't make any sense whatsoever, and they'll like it, who cares what anyone else thinks, and ultimately, it just made a bad show. It just made this a bad series, and honestly, I think this is even worse than The Rise of Skywalker, because at least The Rise of Skywalker had production value. Like, look, say what you will about The Rise of Skywalker, but yeah, the visual effects were phenomenal. This, again, it's probably the worst Star Wars effects that we've seen since the prequel trilogy. Like, they clearly overused the volume to where it no longer helped the show, it became a hindrance to the show. The characters, they start off really interesting and then just end up doing things that I'm just like, this doesn't make any sense whatsoever. The show breaks canon, again, just to do fan service, despite the fact that, again, it makes no sense. With Spider-Man No Way Home, you know, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield teaming up to help Tom Holland's Peter Parker, That made narrative sense. It's not the kind of fan service that where it's like you could just take it out and it would be exactly the same. No. Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire being in No Way Home was so important to the story. It was important to Tom Holland's Peter's character. They helped him evolve to become a better hero, a better person. Taking those two out of the movie would actually make it worse because there was incredible narrative reason for them to be there. There's no narrative reason for Darth Vader and Obi-Wan to fight again. There's no reason whatsoever. It doesn't make any sense. It was so nonsensical to where by the point Qui-Gon Jinn showed up, I just didn't care. I just genuinely did not care. All the show did was, hey, remember when Obi-Wan did this? Hey, remember when Obi-Wan said this? It's just like, there's nothing unique about this. At least with Star Wars The Force Awakens, yeah, there was a Death Star, but they still did a lot of other new things and took a lot of risks. This didn't take any risks at all. It just played it safe. You know, again, who gives a fuck about canon and who gives a fuck about logic? Let's just throw flashing lights at the screen. You know, prequelists will like that. Again, I think it's probably the worst live-action Disney Star Wars thing that I've seen. I think it's even worse than The Rise of Skywalker. Regardless, what do you think of Obi-Wan Kenobi? Do you dislike this show as much as I do, or do you like it? Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and hit that bell icon to be notified of future videos and live streams, because, like I said before, 85% of the people watching this video are not subscribed. So what are you doing? Go ahead and subscribe. And if you want to see more, click this.